Hello, good evening, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Men's Lounge. Indeed, it is always exciting to be here. So I'll start by saying thank you so much for joining us this evening, and then hope to hear all the good news that we have for you this evening. My name is Nanaya Odami, and as usual, I'm going to be your host. So let me urge you to join us on all our social media platforms: Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, at ETV Ghana. Twitter is ETV Ghana, and then on Facebook we have facebook.com/ETV Ghana. And so feel free and join us on all our social media platforms. The WhatsApp line is going to be open very, very early, and that is 020 2222054. You saw what we all watched before we came up into the studio. I mean, the all hearing, all knowing Ballon d'Or. And yes, congrats to Karim Benzema. I think he's done so well. We can all attest to that. A very humble player. He's been very consistent. And all these years, he's come close a few times. And but for a certain Messi and Ronaldo, he's been struggling. But look, yeah, he's finally made it. Tells us what consistency means to anything that we find ourselves doing. And one particular person I want to appreciate so much is Sadio Mane. He's put Africa on the map once again. Congratulations to him, and we hope and pray that he's going to be number one. He came this close. He was number two. But of course, there's something I definitely would have to say before I even take my first break. Anybody else won or could have won just because the owner of the Ballon d'Or was not around. Please take this break. We'll be back shortly.
There is no health without mental health.
All right, welcome back. If you're just joining us, we are in the lounge now about to start our discussions. But before I even go to the discussions, I've got a lot of messages from people asking me who the real owner of the Ballon d'Or is. Like I said, I mean, he wasn't around. That's why somebody else has won. And I'm happy for the person who has won. Of course, Karim Benzema has done a very good job. Before I end the show today, I'll tell you who the real owner of the Ballon d'Or is. You see me smiling like this and I'm in blue, something close to that color. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so I've made it a point to do something about mental health every weekend. So you saw that short few seconds ad that ran. It's something that all of us should always try as much as possible to contribute to and take our mental health seriously. There is no mental health without, I'm sure you saw that statement over there. It's very important to us. Now, again, last week, there's something I started, if you noticed. It's something we all need to begin to do. I mentioned Sadio Mane putting the map of Africa on the globe, of course. But as Ghanaians, what are we also doing? So there is this gentleman called Darren Tinkran. I'm sure if my producers have the story, they'll put it out there in the image for you to see. Darren Tinkran he lives in the UK here. He's born of some immigrant parents who have been in the UK since the early 90s, I would say. Currently, this gentleman has been able to come up with an app, and through the COVID time, this app was able to help people to get their haircut even from their homes. You just get on the app, request for a barber, and voila, the barber just gets to your home and gives you a beautiful cut. The guy has done well. Now he's swimming in billions. Why are we doing this? We need to appreciate our own. He's Ghanaian. Anybody else would have been a big story. So when we have stories like this, let's share, let's encourage. This will help encourage the young ones to realize that the little things they dream of. I don't think he went to school to learn how to do barbering, but he realized that he could look around him, not to say I'm sending my CVs around to look for a job, but he looked around him and got creative, and bam, he's there. So congrats, Darren. We here see what you're doing. We encourage you to do more so that the younger folks can also learn from you. Hey, people are not leaving me alone with this owner of Ballon d'Or. But we'll get there. Anyway, so today we are going to be discussing something very important, and it has to do with how to deal with power and control in marriage. How to deal with power and control in marriage. And with me to do the discussion, I have Mr. Prince Ofe. He's a psychotherapist, a licensed psychologist, a certified marriage and family counselor. Prince, Akwaba.
Yeah.
It's been a while. It's been like almost 4 months. The last time you were here, 4 or 5 months.
4 5 weeks.
4 or 5 weeks rather.
Yes.
Oh, four,
I
five.
think
Okay,
so.
yes, 4 5 weeks. I said
Yes.
months. Forgive me, the pressure. The dollar is just anyway. The dollar is worrying everybody. And then I'm not here with him alone. I also have with me Eric Ampofo. He happens to be a head pastor, ICGC Evangel Temple. Eric, from afar, give me a boozer. Akwaba. I mean, it's your first time. I'm sure you're going to do just fine. Gentlemen, welcome to the studio.
Thank
Today
you.
we are tackling an issue that is quite pertinent in a lot of marriages. It has to do with how to deal with power and control. I am not quite sure where the power sits, but I want to believe that as men, our ego and our built makes us almost assume that level of power when it comes to marriage. I may be wrong, but of course, by the time we'll be done dealing with this topic, I'm sure Prince and Eric will let us know exactly what that means. But to just go straight to the point, what is power and control in marriage? Prince?
Well, over the period, power and control have been used interchangeably because of the characteristics they share together.
Okay.
But if you are to take them one after the other, power can be looked at as the ability or capacity to cause changes or to make things happen. But then when you take something like control, control is more of the influence. In the context of marriage, it has to do with the influence a spouse has on events, situations, on other people who can include children, and then on the other spouse. So that's control, influence on events, other people, including children, over spouse, and then over other events. But of course, sometimes it's not easily understood by people until you help them appreciate the fact that when it comes to power, we are looking at reward power. So that a spouse has that power or control to be able to reward the other, either with gifts or buying certain things, because probably, so he can use that as a way of, moving things around. If it's not reward power, it can also be legitimate power, which is more of the right the spouse has to probably require certain obedience, based on the rules in marriage. Being a wife, being a husband, it's able to give people legitimate power. Then of course we also have the power we call coercive power. And when it comes to coercive power, it has to do with punishment.
Okay.
So a spouse can decide that no sex until you do this and do that, or some other form of force in order to get you to do something.
Okay.
Then finally, we also have what we call expert power. So that this one is more connected to the unique abilities and skills a person has. So if within the marriage, the wife has certain unique skills and abilities, because she has that over the husband, she has power in that area, over the husband. But informational power is also another.
It's another. Well, I assume that there could be even more, depending on how you classify them. Let me just jump straight to Eric. So, trying to define what power and control in marriage is, I mean, from where you sit, what does it mean? I'm sure you would say that you share his thoughts, but of course, there could be something you would add to what he said.
Well, I see power as the capacity to have effect or to impact. And I see control as the use of power.
As the use of power.
Yes. So if a person has the power, then that person will then have the ability to control. So as a matter of fact, couples in marriage are always looking for power. Because they know once they have power,
then they can control.
Then they will have control.
So why do people want to control? Why? More control. Why do people want to control? Eric, why do people want to control?
Well, as a pastor, I will go to the scriptures, and I'll go to the beginning.
Yeah.
God is the one who instituted marriage.
Okay.
And I believe by the time God instituted marriage, sin has not entered the world. At that time, Adam and Eve had not fallen. And that is when he instituted marriage. And marriage is founded on only one principle.
Okay.
Only one.
What's the
biblically.
principle?
The oneness of the two.
The oneness of the two. So the two
oneness.
becoming one.
The two becoming one.
Okay.
If the couple in the marriage maintain this principle, that's the principle of the oneness of the two, there will be no need for power or control. Anywhere you see the struggle over power and control, then it means there is separation. There is selfishness. Okay, sin is selfishness. So sin entered the world, and then the idea of power and control became important. Okay, but when a couple are married on the principle of the oneness of the two, in other words, if they are one front, not two individuals married but living different lives. You know, if I'm married to you and I'm living a different life, you are also living your different life. We are all, your success is not my success. Your failure is not my failure.
So we are not one.
If we are not one, then of course everybody is fighting for their own. But if the principle on which marriage is founded, which is the oneness of the two, is present, then there will be no need for power and control, because the two are one. So I think the reason why we have the issue of power and control in marriage is our disobedience. We are disobedient to the principles of God.
I see. I mean, it comes across as though power is okay, but control easily sounds almost negative. I don't know if I'm the one that is not catching it well. Power, yes, of course, you need, but control kind of gives a certain close to a negative connotation. If I'm correct or wrong on that, but you can correct me. So it makes me want to ask: is it bad to want to be in control?
In fact, I'm happy that you earlier on mentioned that, because there is that perception out there.
Yes.
But when it comes to power, power and control by themselves, they are not bad depending on who is utilizing them. So that you can have what we call healthy or positive power and control, and then you can also have unhealthy power and control. Because if one is trying to approach power in such a way that it looks like you shouldn't even have any form of power or control, that will also create some kind of problem. The reason why I'm saying this is, from the angle of social psychology, there is something we call locus of control, which has to, of course, that was by one Julian Ruther in the 1950s. And it has to do with the fact that our behavior is more of a function of what we call people's expectations of future reinforcement. What do we mean? It means that when you take control, you can look at it from two angles. We have what we call internal locus of control, which means that the spouse or the individual has this expectation that when I behave in this way, that way, it is going to lead to certain desired outcome. That's what we call internal locus of control. And when a person has that, it has a way of motivating them. It has a way of helping them pursue certain things and work even on their marriages and all that, because they believe that there are certain behaviors that when they put in, it can result in certain desired expectations. But when you take the external locus of control, that is the belief and the expectation that regardless of the behavior a person engages in, it will not influence the desired outcome, or it will not influence the outcome. So in that case, with the external locus of control, it means that it doesn't matter what I do or don't do. Things will still turn out the way they have to turn. So it's more of fate. Fate. And when people are living from that realm as well, it has its own implication. Sometimes it leads them to a place of helplessness, where it's like there's nothing I can do to help this marriage or to improve things and all that. So it's more of an issue of what we call balance. Because we have healthy control, we have unhealthy control. So the issue is about balance. It's only one spouse that seems to be having the control and power, and the other doesn't have any. That becomes domineering, and that will always affect the marriage. But when the power and control is balanced within the marriage, the husband and the wife, the power and control they are sharing is balanced, then you can be sure that the results in the marriage will be positive. So we are talking of imbalance will affect the marriage because one is taking all the power and control. But when there is balance, no wonder the Bible says a false balance is an abomination unto God.
Well, the Bible says a false balance is an abomination unto God. I'm going to go on my second break. Please stay with us. We'll be back shortly with more. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we are still in the studio discussing power and control. I mean, in a marriage. And so that's basically it. I'm still here with Eric and Prince, my very good friends, and we are, bringing up all the thoughts around power and control. Before we left off, I'd said that control almost seem to have a certain negative connotation or but I mean, it has that thing that makes control almost feel like it's negative. But power, I'm beginning to understand to some extent that power in the hands of, should I say, the right person almost makes control good enough, but power in the hands of the wrong person. But coming into the marriage, that is why the two of you are here with me. Now, let me ask this from Eric. What gives a spouse more power and control over the other? What?
There are various ways a spouse can have power or control in a marriage. First and foremost, I think the most important, I believe, is tradition or religion.
Tradition or religion?
Or religion.
Okay.
So if a person is a Christian, then we believe that the man is the head. I mean, according to the scriptures, the man is the head of the union. So definitely that gives that power, leadership power to the man. And in our tradition, in our culture, we believe that the man is also the head of the home. So that in itself gives some kind of power to the man. Okay, then of course money, Bible says, answers all things. So the money also gives power.
Okay.
In marriage, and it tends that most of the time the one who earns more
has the power.
Tends to have.
Hey. That is where the wahala starts from, isn't it?
Well, the wahala will start when the oneness of the two is not there, because then if the money is my money, not our money.
Okay.
Then the other party feel powerless.
Okay.
But if the principle of the oneness of the two is there in the marriage, then we don't talk about my money. We talk about our money, our income, our properties, our house, our home, our car.
Okay.
But if there is separation, that couples sees themselves as separate and separate individuals, even though God has joined them together, then the man, if he's the one earning the most, is buying the cars, building the houses, and he in his mind, this is my house, this is my car, it's my money. That creates the power struggle. Okay. Then of course other needs, the other needs like sex, even food can be a source of power in marriage. If I'm the one who can cook, can do the cooking and cook the sumptuous meals, then I have power. It is believed traditionally, it is believed that men are the one who demand more sex You know, a woman can stay for a long time without
That's
sex.
the belief.
That's the belief.
But as to whether it's the
Yeah.
truth,
Yes,
we are not ready to
well,
say
that
it.
one, yeah. I think personally, I think that the women, they enjoy sex more than men.
And they demand more, I think.
Well, they may not demand more because they use it as a power tool.
Too. Okay.
So they may pretend as if they don't like it. You are the one who wants it. Okay, so if you are the one who wants it,
Then they can afford to say
then
no.
they can use it as a power tool.
Control too. They
It's
have
a
the
control
power and then they control with that. Prince, who should have more power in the marital relationship? Who should have more
To
power?
be frank, in marriage, if the marriage has to be a healthy marriage, then the power should be balanced. That yeah, it should be balanced. Because if it's not balanced, what will be happening is that there'll be too much manipulation and domineering playing out. But you know, a lot of what people hear being mentioned in the system about domestic violence, you know, basically when we talk of domestic violence, we are talking about abusing, sorry, some kind of abusive behavior
Yeah.
with intimate persons. So a husband and a wife, with their relationship, if there is there are all kinds of abusive behaviors taking place, then we say that there is domestic violence.
Yeah.
But sometimes people are not aware that even in the marriage that they are in, there is a lot of domestic violence because they don't appreciate what goes into domestic violence. There are a lot of husbands that are engaging in domestic violence but are not aware.
Okay.
I'm talking of even serious or committed Christians, sometimes even other persons who have leadership roles in churches that sometimes are not aware that they are engaging in domestic violence. Do you
And
know
so
why I'm saying that?
I was going to ask
Yeah.
you, so why?
Because when you take, there is something we call the power and control wheel. When you take that power and control wheel, that's how you are able to appreciate when there is domestic violence taking place. And in that wheel, on the outer part of the wheel, we have what we call physical violence, and then we have sexual violence. I'm happy that Reverend spoke about sexual power.
Yeah.
So when you take the physical violence, that's where you can find a man or someone hitting the wife, slapping, and to the extreme, murder. That's physical violence. Then the sexual violence, you have all kinds of sexual assaults. You even have rape within marriage and other forms of,
Who is raping who? The women are raping the men.
well, so, and that's what we call domestic violence. But those are direct,
Yeah.
the physical and the sexual. But within the wheel itself, there are subtle ones, and those ones are happening all over the place, and people are not aware of. For instance, one of them is what we call, Reverend mentioned that economic abuse.
Yeah.
There are instances where a spouse will tell the other one, I don't want you to work. I don't want you to take on certain opportunities that can bring you some income. But even in the midst of that, the person will only make sure that you have something on you when it's specifically tied to something else. So you don't have any liberty
Okay.
with money.
Yeah.
That is a control. It's a tactic to control the person, but you are doing it economically. And then we have emotional abuse. And that's where sometimes one talks down on the spouse, name calling. You hear a spouse calling the other, you are shawu, you are this, you are that. Those name calling are all within emotional abuse. But of course, you have intimidation as well. Sometimes the posturing and all that in dealing with the other spouse. All is gestures with which you deal with the person, you talk to the person. All are intimidation and they are control tactics. But even there is this one too we call isolation. There are instances where a spouse will try to isolate the other one from, even sometimes from friends, from family. So they will give you options. Choose between me and your family.
The women do that a lot, I've been hearing.
So that one, choose between me and your family. That's isolation, trying to cut the person off friends, cut the person off family, cut the person. So you become the only person in the person's life. You are trying to create codependency, and that's control tactic.
Okay.
And it doesn't help any marriage. Some use children to control within the wheel. They use children to control the other spouse. Any little thing, they pull the strings with their children.
Yeah.
If you don't do this and that, I'll stop doing this for the children. I'll stop doing that for the children, and those kind of things. Or sometimes they will even turn the children against the other spouse. It's a control tactic.
So we are saying essentially that, I mean, there should be power balance.
Yeah.
So if there should be power balance, aren't there any specific things in marriage that as men we should be able to control?
Well, from the biblical point, I think that God has instructed that the man should be the head of the family, of the woman, and with the family. So that implies that in any healthy Christian marriage, the man who seems to have some higher authority over the woman and the children, because to provide leadership demands that that person should have some level of authority. But God has given the man the headship, with the assumption that man is himself subject to God and to Christ. In other words, the man is a good man, a righteous man who is seeking the well-being of his family. So here we have God is giving power to a good person, not a bad person. And when power is in the hands of a good person, he will use it for something good,
So
not
what
for
are
evil.
what are those good things that a man should be able to control in the marriage? A good man.
Of
What are
course,
those
I
things?
think that as a man, there are very key areas that you should provide leadership. Of course, with consultation and and the contribution of your wife. But there are certain areas that, when there is no agreement between the wife
You
and
still
the
have to
husband,
control.
the man must make sure that he determines the direction. For instance, religion, the fate of the family, issues concerning the children, their education, they are bringing, so there are very key major decisions that affect, let me say, the destiny of the family, that the man should have the
Control over.
authority and the power to control. But then there are many things that I believe that a man should leave to the control of the wife.
Oh, I know one.
Which one?
As a man, don't try to take over the kitchen. I'm sure I'm correct on that one.
Yeah, so not even that. Even when
Yeah.
it comes to finances,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe that as a
Women manage.
yes,
finance
Yeah.
I
better.
believe that as
Yeah.
a man, you should give the woman the power and to control the expenditure.
Just be the bank and let her be the auditor.
Yeah.
You're fine.
And then you are fine, because when the women are the treasurers,
Yeah.
when they are the
They don't pay you. You have to justify before they pay.
there is peace actually when they
It's
control
peaceful
the
like that,
purse.
eh?
When they control the purse, there is peace at home. Yes.
So we should allow them to
Oh,
control.
yes. yes.
Praise. That's a way
I'm enjoying what Reverend is saying.
Oh, so you agree that
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. But Reverend spoke about the God-given power to
Uh-huh.
the man
Yeah.
based on how he wants the man to exemplify what Christ does to
Yeah.
the church.
Yeah.
And it's very important because there are some men, because you remember I was talking about the power and control whole thing. There are some men that use what we call male privilege to unfortunately abuse their spouses. And by the male privilege, it means they do literally everything by themselves. They don't even discuss anything with the woman.
Yeah, of course.
And then they go ahead and do things. So it's like you don't have any opinion, you don't have any contribution to make. I do it. I call the shots. And that becomes abuse of power and control based on male privilege. So those are some of the things that I'm happy that Reverend emphasized, drawing the power from God and making sure that you don't end up using it against your spouse and the marriage, but using it for your spouse benefit and that of the marriage.
so are we saying it is possible to have equal power and control?
It's possible to have power and control
Equally.
in different areas
Equally.
for the other person, and
So
So you
it's
share
not
the
equal.
power.
So it's not equal then.
Well, let
You
me,
It
share.
can't be a
let,
par.
let
You
me
share.
come
So
in.
in certain areas, you have the power and control more.
Uh-huh.
In other areas, I have the power and control.
So it
So you
definitely
don't.
means that it will
Aha.
still have some. It can swing to one side.
Ultimately,
If you take all-
ultimately the man has the power. But you see, in my experience, and even from examples from biblical examples, when a woman is when a woman respects her husband and submit to the leadership of the husband, over time, the woman gains influence and control over the husband. Over time. When a woman is disrespectful and unsubmissive, the husband will resist her, and then over time there is this power play and conflict. But if a woman, respects her husband and listens to her husband, over time she has control. Look, when I was growing up, I saw a lot of good marriages in my family, and one thing I got to know is that if you need something from an uncle, don't go to the uncle, go to the wife. If the wife agrees, the matter is settled. Why? Because the woman has influence, has power over the husband. So if you go to the woman and you tell the woman, Auntie, this is what I want from my uncle, and once he agrees, she agrees, she'll go to the husband and it is done. Once she has accepted, it's done.
Yeah.
Because this woman has control and power over the husband. And you ask yourself, how was this woman able to get to that position where now everything she says is taken by the husband? She has gained that control over time through respect and submission.
Yes.
Okay, so that I'd want to perhaps say that kind of control and power is the good one.
It's the good one. It's
Yeah.
not manipulative.
Because it's been given.
Yes.
It's been allowed.
Yes.
So before I even move to the next thing or the next question, we have agreed that there cannot be equal power and control except in certain areas.
Yes, except in certain areas.
Okay, so then generally the man is seen as a little ahead when it comes to having the power and the control in the home, not the house, the home.
Yeah.
All right, so we all agree to
We
that.
agree.
Voila. So
I mean, I know those who have, the intellectuals. when
you have a lot more to describe.
yeah. Because the intellectuals, sometimes they shiver a little bit to go that way.
Exactly, because you see, now
Because of the
liberal-
abuse, the domestic, when you come into contact with a whole lot of domestic violence taking place, especially in a subtle way,
yeah,
you realize that sometimes the perception is not properly, it's not properly balanced. So some just go into the marriage and they feel,
Prince,
when I say
it's
sit down,
because-
you
it's-
sit.
Prince, it's because the foundation is
Yeah.
not there. The foundation
Yeah.
is broken. The oneness, you see,
the oneness of the two.
the unity.
yeah,
You see, once the unity is not there, then you see, when Bible says that he who loves his wife loves himself. Why? Because the two are one.
yeah.
In the same way, a woman who submits and respects the husband submit and respects herself because she's one with the husband. It is only when in a marriage the two couples are living separate lives that this abuse and manipulation of power and control come in.
Well, the oneness of the two is where I'll hit this off with. Please stay tuned. We'll be back shortly. We're going for another break. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we are still in the lounge discussing power and control in marriages. As men, how should we ensure that we have, should I say, enough peace at home, know how to balance the power, manage our control, and always be able to, you know, keep our head high in the relationship. There's one thing I'll tell you for sure. Even if I don't know anything, please, men, leave the kitchen for the women. You can have all the control, but don't try controlling the kitchen. It's very, very important that you note that. Guys, we are back. And at this point, the phone lines are also open. The number is 0555 657278. I repeat, 0555 657278. Call us, share with us what you think, your comments, your thoughts. If you have any questions, Prince and Eric are here to help you, answer your questions, basically. And so, guys, we are back. Before we left off, we're talking about, I think we moved on, we were looking at, we all agreed that, of course, power can't be at par. Power and control cannot, but of course, in certain areas, you can manage, and then, but ultimately, a man should be able to at least control the home to some extent, but not necessarily use it in a very negative way, if I'm right on that. So, you know, often people say power couples, do power couples make great marriages? This is a man who is of that standard, the woman also of a certain standard. And look, intellectually, financially, they are both there. Do such people make great couples? Of course, whatever makes up the marriage, we already have it. So the marriage should be good. But with your experience, those who come to you, those you talk to, do those levels, do they make very good couples? Should it always be the case that at least the man should be slightly ahead? Is that what makes it better? Should it be the case that even when they are at par, which doesn't work?
I think I always want to look at the fundamentals. So we need to ask ourselves.
So nothing matters as far as you both realize that the two have to be one.
No, not even that. The issue is about what is the purpose of marriage.
What's the purpose? That's a whole,
There's
whole discussion on
because
it.
that's fundamental. Why are you married to this person?
Isn't it relative to each person's decisions or thought of marriage?
Well, I think if the person is a Christian, then the person should look at the higher purpose, you know, beyond themselves. Because you see, when God created the heavens and the earth, the first institution he established was marriage. So marriage has something to do more with God's kingdom than the two of us. So when we marry, fine, marriage will meet certain personal needs, but the purpose of the marriage is far beyond the two of us.
And so you want to look at that ultimate reason.
Ultimate purpose. You see, because when families are strong, the church is strong, the nation is strong, then the kingdom of God is strong.
Okay.
If the family is weak, the church is weak, the kingdom of God is weakened. So you realize that the purpose of marriage goes beyond even earthly matters. The purpose of marriage is kingdom and eternal. So God depends on our marriages. So when you look at that grand purpose of marriage, your money or the income you are earning doesn't matter
at all, because then it's a totally different
we have come together
discussion.
to serve God, not to serve ourselves.
Okay. Prince, I was going to come to you with some, but you want to put a comment on that?
Okay.
Go ahead, and then
I
before
will look
come
at
to you.
it also, adding to Reverend's on. I will look at it from this other angle. You know, there are some people who are married to certain spouses.
Prince, let me hold you on for now.
Okay.
There's a caller. Good evening, caller. Your name and where you're calling from?
My name is Dasko. I'm calling from Sabadi.
Hi, please let's hear you.
Come again?
Please let's hear you. We are listening.
Okay. If a woman is taking a decision, the man, you know that the decision the woman is making is not strong, or it won't help the marriage. As a man, for peace to reign, should you allow that decision, or what do you have to do as a man?
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for your question. So what he sought to say is that if you are in a marriage, obviously, and your woman, your wife, you think she's making a wrong decision, and just for the reason that you want peace to prevail at home, should you allow that to go, or you still have to stamp your feet?
Okay, so to respond to that, first of all, it depends on the whether or not the decision is a major decision or a minor decision. If it's a major decision, it means that it will have major consequence. If it's a minor decision, it means that the effect
May not be much.
will not be too damaging. So you first look at that. Is it a major thing with major consequence, or
Yeah.
is minor with minor consequence? So that's the first thing to consider. Then the second thing to consider has to do with, is a thing so specific to her? For instance, is it something within her work environment? Is it something within her educational pursuits? Is it, or is something that's directly about the family
Okay.
in terms of children, you? So you also have to answer that question. Then the other aspect is, you don't right away tell the person, I'm the husband, I'm the head. What you want to do, I don't support it.
And so
Therefore,
no.
stop. Don't do it. That's unhealthy control you are trying to exercise.
Yeah.
Instead, you can go into what we call dialogue by giving convincing reasons to make her appreciate why you will encourage her to rather go in this direction. Or sometimes what you can do is you give the person some very powerful reasons why going in this direction may not too much help. Then you give the person opportunity that maybe you should give it a little bit thought.
Go think a little
So
bit
go
more
think
about it.
a little bit. So you use time to be able to reach out to her, and sometime by the time you realize, she'll come back to you and tell, I think I'm getting
you were
something
right.
out of what,
You were right.
rather
Let's-
than saying, no, I'm the man, don't do it. No.
Let me ask you this question. Sometimes I believe these also come out of, should I say, a controlling wife. How do you deal with a controlling wife?
Okay, now, let me say something, then Reverend will continue. When you talk of controlling wife, there are some persons whose level of control has gone beyond just normal control to a disorder,
Hey,
to a mental health disorder. We call it narcissistic personality disorder.
Okay.
Their whole personality has been affected by control, which is abusive. And when I talk of narcissistic personality disorder, it's dangerous. When a person is married to a husband who is experiencing this condition, for which reason the person needs attention from professionals, there is a lot the wife will try to do and still will not be making headway. Because such a person, one, lacks empathy. The person is unable or unwilling to be able to know or recognize your needs and your emotions when doing anything. The person unfortunately exploits relationship for personal gain. So the person is not in the relationship just because both of you have to mutually benefit from it, but it's more of object. You are an object in this relationship. As long as you are useful to me, then everything is okay. If I feel the way you are so useful is changing, that's when beauty starts declining, when other things the man thought you had start declining, you are of no use anymore. So they can easily cheat on their spouses, a narcissistic person. They can easily engage in what we call grandiose sense of self-importance. They feel they are more important than you. You are inferior to them. In the marriage, you are nobody. I am every. So they talk down. They can insult you. That's narcissistic characteristic, and it's a condition, to the extent that sometimes they can even go to, they feel they are entitled. Everything that happens around them, they are entitled to it. They are entitled to the good things. So they must be given the special treatment. They are unique, special. Therefore, they must be given the unique treatment wherever they are and whatever they do. You must always be
everything should be
subservient to
about
them.
them.
Everything should be about them. It's natural to them because a condition. They are so selfish. They never think of the spouse in anything.
So if you find yourself in that, there's a caller. Let me take that and come back to you. Good evening, caller. Your name and where you're calling from. Hello, caller. Can you hear us? Your name and where you're calling from. Okay, there seems to be a struggle there. I'm sure the caller will get back
What
to us.
what I'll add is that, first of all, we need to find out why is the woman a controlling woman? Most often women react, in my experience, react what the men do. So sometimes when the woman feels powerless, when they feel they don't have control, then they begin to fight for control. So most of the time, if you see a woman who seems to be domineering and controlling, then that woman is seeking for something, seeking for some kind of power, some kind of attention. So if that is she's doing that in response to lack of control or influence or power, then the husband must make sure that she start meeting the needs of the woman. Once her needs are met, then there will be no need for her to be domineering or controlling. If, on the other hand, as Prince said, it's as a result of a mental disorder or a mental disorder, then of course she would need some kind of professional help. But in my experience, I think generally the women tend to react, or let's say fight back. You know, when they see that their men are exercising too much power and authority over them, then they tend to react by, trying to also fight for their rights. Basically, that's.
But in that situation, Prince, what should you do if you find yourself in a kind of relationship or in a kind of marriage with a narcissist? What should you do?
First of all, you would have to understand the characteristics of a narcissist and what is making the narcissist do what he or she is doing. You would have to understand and appreciate. And you have to know that the narcissist can actually promise you that, in fact, I'm very sorry, I regret for everything, I won't do it again. And at the time the narcissist is saying that, it may look like he means it. So sometimes the narcissist will even go to the extent of, there's something we call love bombing. Will bomb you with love. Will do things for you, take you out, do everything to let you know genuinely, I'm sorry for how I've been treating you and all the things, my explosion. But unfortunately, if it's a mental health condition and it's not the other side that Reverend explained, then in that case, it won't be long when that will lead to what we call tension will start building again. And then after the tension builds for a while, then boom, it will go to what we call explosive episode. And then the whole thing will start again. And then it will go back to love bombing. So if it's a condition, then regardless of all the promises, it will not be enough to change. And that's why sometimes spouses will be holding on. They will go to pastor every now and then. The pastor, I've done everything. I've spoken to him. And pastor sometimes will call the person, the husband, will talk to the husband, will encourage the husband, will do everything. They go back. The thing keeps repeating. Sometimes, unfortunately, family comes in. They talk to the person, do everything. It still keeps going on. It's because it's a condition now. So it's not about just the person desiring.
So what do? Do you move away?
Unfortunately, for us Christians, you don't move out of marriage because you have gone into it.
And
so there are a
you
few
need to
things
stay in
you
there,
have to
right?
do. One of the things you have to learn to do is to learn to manage your expectations.
Yeah.
So have realistic expectations whenever you are engaging with a person. Don't expect too much. Don't expect too much.
Okay, well, of course, in marriages, let's have expectations. Let's not expect too much. It's very important. I would love to pick your final words. 10 seconds each, starting from Eric.
Well, as I said, we must always go to the author of marriage, the one who instituted it.
Okay.
He said, in the beginning, he created them male and female, and he made them one. The man will leave, the woman will leave, they be united, become one. When oneness is there, one heart, one mind, one goal, one purpose.
There won't be anything
There will be no
power and
need.
control
There
there.
may be, but it will not be an unhealthy one.
Okay, all right. Prince.
Yeah, so my final word is that control in itself is not always bad. It depends on the angle you are looking at it because it's a spectrum.
Yeah.
When you go to one end of the extreme end, you have what we call absolute control. And it's only God who should have absolute control. When you also go to the other extreme end, you have what we call no control, which is helplessness, and that can lead to all kinds of psychological conditions. So balance.
Balance.
There must be balance in control and power.
Well, thank you so much, Prince. Thank you so much. Eric, I'm grateful to have you. I would like to have you once again for us to talk more about that particular marriage issue. We'll get there. Well, thank you also for being part of our evening. It's been good so far. And we want to say, again, thank you to you for being part of our evening. If I'm allowed, I'll say it again and again and again. We'll be back next week with a very exciting topic, a very good one that we'll be discussing. Today, I learned something new. It's an idiomatic expression. It says break a leg. It simply means that good luck in everything you'll be doing through the Ballon d'Or winner. Well, the owner of the Ballon d'Or was not around. That is why someone else won, and that is Lionel Messi. And I'm sure you all know it.